Hi guys, it's Rob from Royal Balls. Finally, another update on my maternal incubation. I'm sorry it's taken so long, but I didn't actually anticipate how long this was going to take. Many of you have been asking for an update, and I thought it was going to be about 2 weeks, and it's taken almost a month. So be careful what you wish for, because here is the update, and it's a long one. We've got nearly 50 minutes of footage, but there is some really nice footage here, and if you can watch it all to the end, even if you don't watch it all in a single sitting, it's worth watching right to the end. So let's take a look. Okay guys, let me take you right back to the week before I was expecting these eggs to hatch. The female has shed and she has gone back onto her eggs, and I've put the camera back into the tub, and she's allowing me, at least temporarily, to put the camera back into the tub so that we can watch what she does over the last week or so of the incubation. I did offer her her rat on the 12th and she refused to eat it. She's still shuffling round on the eggs quite regularly, coiled around them quite nicely. So not much change over this period since she shed. She's still behaving pretty much the same way, investigating the camera from time to time, but still coiled very nicely around the eggs. This is the 14th, and I was expecting the eggs to hatch around the 16th. That would have been 60 days, which is normal incubation for my eggs in the incubator, but as we'll see, these eggs took much longer than that. The eggs are still looking very good, still full and plump, not at all dehydrated, and still all well stuck together. So I'm expecting these eggs to take some time longer to actually hatch, because they're not dimpling in as eggs normally do before they are due to hatch. So we've still got a way to go here. The eggs still look very good. I've slowed this bit of the video down from 20 times to just 8 times so that we can see what she's actually up to. She's investigating the camera now, and she actually gets quite agitated. She's banging the camera around, knocking it around, and she's actually coming off the eggs now to try and move the camera out of the tub, and she's knocked it over completely. She's still shoving it around. She definitely does not like the camera being in the tub. I've noticed this with the spy cam in other snakes' tubs. Females not so much, but the males do not like the camera in the tub. There you go, she's kicking the camera around even more. But this particular female now has suddenly decided she doesn't want the camera around anymore, and she's taking some drastic action. She's pulling and shoving the camera around the tub now. She's not actually on the eggs, she's come off the eggs and she's shoving the camera around. That's the water bowl you can see in the background. That's the roof of the tub with the ventilation holes in it, so the camera's now looking up. And she's crawling all over the top of it. This camera's obviously causing her quite a bit of disturbance now. Alright, let's see if we can figure out what's going on with this clutch here. Okay, so she's knocked the camera over. The eggs still look okay. But I'm guessing, guys, she's done here. That shed, this is day 58 for the eggs, 2 more days to go, but just 2 days after she shed. She doesn't look as if she's going to stay on these eggs. So let me just right the camera and we'll see what she does. So let's have another go with the camera. I'll reset the camera to see whether we can actually capture this on film. This is the whole point of the series, is to use the spy cam. So we've put the spy cam back in again. She's obviously not happy. She's not coiled around the eggs anymore as she was before. And I'm actually starting to get a little worried now that she's not going to finish off the incubation. She's actually distressed by the camera, or she's actually done and has lost her maternal instinct. So here we go again. She definitely does not want the camera in the tub with her. Again, she's completely left the eggs to try to get rid of the camera. And because she was consistently knocking the camera over, and she was coming off the eggs, I decided that it was probably best to remove the camera. Not looking good, guys. I'm going to take the camera out to see whether she goes back on the eggs, but I suspect that she won't. Let me take the camera out. Alright, I'll just give her a little while without the camera to see whether that was what was bothering her. But it looks to me like she's abandoning the clutch. Now let's see what happens. Okay guys, so yes, she's gone back onto the eggs after I removed the camera. So definitely the camera causing that issue. It could be that she's hypersensitive because the eggs are close to hatching. I don't know. But for whatever reason, she's gone back onto the eggs now that the camera is not in the tub. So now the camera's gone. Every time that I opened the tub, I was greeted with this sight of her coiled quite nicely round the eggs. So removing the camera worked, but obviously we're not getting any footage. Here we are on the morning of day 59, and she is still tightly coiled around those eggs. Much better without the camera in. She was definitely not liking that camera. But no sign of hatching yet, and the good news is she has not deserted her eggs. So that's just an update on day 59. Alright guys, this is the morning of day 60 when my eggs in the incubator normally hatch, and I don't expect that these eggs have hatched. So you can see that she has settled back onto the eggs with the camera out of the tub. But you will notice that she is extremely attentive and sensitive to disturbance now, whereas she wasn't before. I do not think I could reach down into the tub now and lift her body off to get a look at the eggs. I don't think she would let me do that. This is a change in her behaviour, either since she shed or because the eggs are now close to hatching. You can see she's coming out and investigating the hand phone, just as she did with the camera. And I can see the eggs in there. She's giving us a little look, and I do not see any pippers in there just yet. But she is still coiled tightly around the eggs, so I'm not going to disturb her. I don't know what day the eggs are going to hatch, and unfortunately she's not going to let us put the spy cam back into her tub. So day 60, the eggs have not hatched yet. She has had a change in behaviour. She's a lot more sensitive to disturbance right now, and I daren't put the camera back in because she knocks it around and tries to get rid of it. So there we go, day 60. I'll give you an update either tonight or tomorrow morning, but the eggs are not hatching yet. She is actually giving us a peek at the eggs there. The eggs are just fine. Alright guys, this is day 61, the morning of day 61. Let's just take a peek in here. Sorry I have to do it this way. Okay, still tightly coiled around the eggs, very attentive and alert. So I suspect this change in behaviour is because the eggs are actually quite close to hatching. I don't really want to stick my hand in there to have a look. I'm sure she'll let us know when these babies are hatching, but I don't see any signs of it right now, the morning of day 61. She isn't actually going to let us have a look at these eggs, but I'm sure her coils would loosen up if they were already pipping. Now she's getting quite angry with me. You can see the change in body posture there. She's tensing up. She doesn't like my intrusion. Let's see if we can get a sneak peek at the eggs. Yes, I can see. So the eggs are still okay. So I'm going to close the tub and we'll check again. The eggs are still good. I'm expecting they could take up to 65 days or so to hatch at these temperatures. So we'll leave her in peace. Alright, Mama. So I did want to capture this on the spy cam. So after that brief resting period, she seems to have settled back down again. So I put the camera back in the tub, and she does tolerate this for quite some time. So we do have some footage here, and it's important footage because, as you will see in a moment, she feeds. Still a little unsettled by the camera. The eggs are just starting to dimple in a little bit, just starting to look a little bit dehydrated, but they're still full with no additional humidity in the tub. Humidity hasn't been an issue up to now. And there she eats. She's taken a African soft fur. This is her first meal in almost 150 days. I'll give you some dates and durations at the end as a summary. But that's her first meal, and yes, she's eating while she's sitting on eggs. Now at this stage, we still actually have quite a way to go before the eggs actually hatch, but I am noticing that she's loosening up on the coils. She's not coiled up tightly around the eggs now. For the rest of the incubation period, she's actually exposing large portions of the eggs. The eggs are starting to generate their own heat. I did heat gun them, and the eggs were at 31 centigrade. So I suspect that what she's doing here, since the eggs are now getting a bit closer to hatching and their metabolic rate has increased, the eggs are actually generating a little of their own heat, and she's actually having to expose them to keep them cool. Oxygen uptake of the eggs has also increased at this time, and you see the egg in the bottom left hand corner here. It's still full, but it's actually come unstuck from the rest of the clutch. The eggs are starting to unstick themselves, which is a sure sign that they are actually getting ready to hatch. Now, I watched this video with a little bit of trepidation there to make sure that she didn't roll that egg around, because we don't want that egg turning upside down at this late stage in the incubation. I'm sure nature has this covered and it wouldn't have affected the eggs, but she is actually knocking the eggs around quite a bit, and she's also putting weight on the eggs, and you can see the eggs actually flexing as she moves around on the eggs. So pushing and poking at the eggs at this stage is obviously not doing them any harm. You can see, despite the bad egg has actually discolored the eggs, particularly on the top of the eggs here, the eggs actually still look remarkably good. So that bad egg hasn't had any impact at all on the rest of the eggs. This is now actually day 64 or day 65, I think. I'm not exactly certain. But other people that have incubated eggs at room temperature out here in the tropics tell me it can take anything up to 70 days for the eggs to hatch. It does take quite a bit longer than incubating in the incubator at warmer temperatures. She's still doing the job, still coiled around those eggs, still doing plenty of yawning, and also taking a drink. Watch the eggs as she's moving around on them, and you will see the eggs are actually moving. They're starting to come unstuck from each other at this point. Now you can see the egg in the foreground is actually starting to dimple in. Still a few days away from hatching yet, but over the next couple of days you will see a drastic change in the eggs. They do start to dimple in and get very, very dehydrated as the yolk sac is absorbed and the babies get ready to hatch. You'll see the eggs dimple quite significantly just over the last 3 or 4 days. And again, she's exposing large portions of the eggs now, either keeping them cool or letting them breathe. You see that bottom left egg moving around as she moves, and also the eggs changing shape as she puts pressure on them. And I was starting to get a little bit worried about the egg on the bottom of the pile at the bottom right. I just had a quick feel there to see whether I could feel anything in the eggs, and I was getting a little worried that it was taking too long, so I actually candled them, but I couldn't see much inside the eggs. But that egg down in the bottom right hand corner is actually getting quite dehydrated, and it's getting squashed down underneath the pile of other eggs. She's putting a full weight on these eggs still. And you can see that bottom right egg now starting to pancake. More yawning. They do that a lot more than I ever suspected. And you'll see now the egg in the bottom left corner has now completely detached from the rest of the clutch. The glue that binds the clump of eggs together has actually started to unstick, and that's very common also in the incubator. Just before the eggs hatch, they do detach from each other and come apart very, very easily. You see how squashed that egg in the bottom right corner is now. That's getting very pancake-like. Now you can see the egg starting to dimple in quite significantly. I didn't know at the time, but we have 2 days to go now. And she's starting to pay the camera a little bit too much attention again. You can see how the eggs change shape. There she is eating again her second meal, a week after the first meal, and she took this rat with no hesitation. So that's her second meal during this incubation. But you can see how the eggs change shape as she moves around on the eggs. She's actually putting weight on, and the eggs are actually distorting. Again, you can see that she's not tightly coiled around the eggs like she was for most of the incubation period. She's actually stretched out and is basically just lying on top of the eggs now, rather than coiled around them. Now you can see the eggs really badly dimpled. This is the day before they actually hatch, and I'm actually watching quite closely now because I'm getting a little worried that these eggs are actually getting really badly dimpled, and there's no pippers yet. At this stage, I have no idea what the schedule's going to be. All my experience is in the incubator. So this is a little bit nerve-wracking, actually. She's trying to get rid of the camera again, and I did end up actually having to tape the camera to the back wall of the tub so that she couldn't knock it over. There, she's knocked it over again. So I actually had to tape it onto the back wall of the tub to stop her from doing that. You can see that the eggs are now looking really crinkly, and she's not actually covering them now, she's just laid on top of them. Again, I was having a quick look to see whether I could feel anything, and at this point, yes, I can feel baby snakes inside the egg, so I knew at this stage that the eggs were actually developing. But I'm still unsure about when they're going to hatch, and obviously concerned about the amount of dimpling and dehydration of the eggs. Completely new experience for me. All my experience is with an incubator, and my incubator works like clockwork. This isn't going like clockwork, and it's actually quite stressful. I probably checked her more often than I should have done. And I'm starting to get concerned that it's actually my conditions in the tub that are causing the dehydration. In actual fact, it wasn't. It was the eggs, the babies in the eggs absorbing all the yolk sac, and the eggs were dimpling in as they should. But obviously, because this is quite late compared to eggs in the incubator, I was worried about dehydration and whether it was me that was causing this. I have to thank Joe Tully and Hamlin, both of them I spoke to regularly and sent them pictures and told them how worried I was, and they both reassured me and told me keep going, keep going. So I do have to thank both of those guys for keeping my mojo up, because I was starting to lose it. Day 71, and look how dimpled those eggs are. And finally, on day 72. So finally, we've got the footage of the run up to hatching, and very shortly you'll see the egg right in the center, this big dimpled one in the middle. You'll see the first baby start to pip. She's not coiled around the eggs at all, she's actually very active and moving around quite a lot. And there we've got the pipper, you can see it at the top. You can actually see the egg moving. And finally it sticks its nose out. That's the first one.
Mother doesn't really seem to have noticed. I'm sure she has, but she's not doing anything special. We've got the second one pipping there, and I just needed to check on that because you can see it's pipped and the head's out of one hole and the tail is out of another hole, which is very unusual. I've never seen that before. And I watched that baby struggle and struggle and get weaker and weaker. It is the small pancake egg at the bottom, and that baby is actually very, very small. So I did actually go in there and make an incision in that egg between the tail hole and the head hole to allow the snake to come out. And you can see it immediately pops out and drags a small piece of the yolk sac with it. So I did need to intervene there. I didn't want that trailing around in the tub, so I went in and tied that off. Now I have put some wet towels in there to keep the moisture in, and there you see me just going in and removing that baby snake to attend to it. But I did want to keep the humidity up for the babies. We know when babies come out we need to put them into a shedding tub and keep them very damp until they get their first shed. So I did put those wet towels in there. Now you can see another pipper, and Mum's laid straight on top of it. And I watched this during the day, and I felt she was actually making it very difficult for the babies to actually get out of the egg. She's sitting right on top of the eggs and not giving the babies chance to get out. She's pinning them. They're struggling to get out and she's not helping. Now you can see more babies pipping. She is aware. Here's the video that I shot in the early hours of the morning on the 28th, day 72, and we have a pipper. I actually woke up, looked at my camera, opened the application, had a quick peek inside the tub, and I saw the first pipper. This is such a relief, such a relief. Now it's the middle of the day and you can see the egg on the lower right that's been quite badly squashed. You see the snake has its head out and its tail is sticking out of a different hole. And I watched this snake for the whole day struggling to get out of the egg, and it couldn't get out. And there's the reason why. I did go in and help it out a little bit, but it hadn't fully absorbed the yolk sac, and I did need to tie off the umbilicus. That snake is actually fine now, no issues. And finally, by the end of the day, on the 28th, more of the eggs are now starting to pip, and you can see two more pippers there. Such a relief to see these eggs actually hatching.
Alright guys, I need to see what's going on with these eggs. We had the baby yesterday that was struggling to get out of the egg that I ended up having to help out and tie off the umbilical, and these eggs are now badly dehydrated. They've all pipped by the looks of it, but I've watched them struggling to get out of the egg for the last 24 hours, and instinct tells me that when I leave eggs in the incubator to pip by themselves, within 24 hours, usually within 12 hours, the babies are out of the egg, and these babies are struggling to get out. Mama isn't helping, she's laid on top of them, so I'm going to lift her off and we're going to have a look and see what's happening with these eggs. It's a shame to come this far and not see it through, but it's also a shame to come this far and let the babies die. So we're going to lift Mama off now and have a look. and she hasn't resisted too much that effort. So let me zoom you in here. We've got one egg here that has not yet pipped, and I want to cut that one first to see what's going on. Let's have a look in there. Okay, yes, the baby is alive in there. And that actually looks like a sable, single sable. Let's let this one out. There's another pinstripe sable. Nice dorsal stripe. And I want to see if these have absorbed all their yolk sacs. The one yesterday had not. And no, it has not fully absorbed the yolk sac. There we go. There's quite a bit of yolk left in that one. That's what I was afraid of. There's another sable in there. That one's a little bit bigger. There's another pinstripe sable. Have you absorbed your yolk sac? And that one's alive, guys. That one doesn't look too bad. Just this one that hasn't absorbed all the yolk again. This one is out. So they all do look okay. This one is Orange Dream. I can see the dot on the head. So pinstripe sable Orange Dream. Nice. Hard to see which ones have yellow belly in at this stage. Very light head, that one might have yellow belly. This one here, a lot of flames up the side on that one. I can't see the head, but that could be sable yellow belly. This one's straight sable by the looks of it. This one is another sable. And I did put some wet towels in there yesterday just to increase the humidity a little bit. So they're all cut now. This one has not absorbed its yolk. So what do I do, guys? Do I stick these in the incubator and let them come out by themselves? Or do I put Mama back in there and let her finish the job? These ones are okay. This one, this one, this one, this one is okay. This one has not absorbed its yolk sac yet and may need some assistance. Alright, I'm going to put Mama back in the tub here and let her finish the job, but I was very uneasy about leaving these eggs without cutting them to see what was going on. Two of the eggs do have issues with their umbilical. This is the baby that I dealt with yesterday and tied off the umbilicus, which has now dropped off, and this baby is perfectly fine. So all 6 of the remaining eggs have made it. Let me put Mama back in there. And we'll put her back in the rack and just see what she does over the course of the next few hours.
So I did put her back in the tub for another 24 hours, and I'm glad that I did, because I got some awesome shots of her and the babies. But I did notice that she isn't actually coiled around the eggs at all. She's moving around the tub quite a bit, and she's crawling all over the eggs and all over the babies, which I didn't expect to see. And in fact, she does sit on top of some of the babies when they hatch. There you can see she's sitting on top of one of the babies, and she also still continues to climb all over the top of the clutch. And in fact, she squashes all the eggs down really badly. As the babies start to come out of the eggs, the empty eggs are all crushed down as she lies on top of them, and the tub was getting pretty messy with egg goop. So I didn't really expect to see this behavior. I thought she would still be coiled nicely around the eggs. Maybe that's because I did disturb her too much, or maybe she is actually fed up with the whole deal after 72 days. But I didn't expect this behavior. It looks like she's not really particularly bothered about the babies coming out of the eggs there. This baby that's just come out at the front is a sable, and it's obviously quite weak from straining to get out of the eggs, but it does get itself together, manages to collect itself up and right itself. That's actually quite a big baby, much bigger than the one that I had to tie off the umbilical. You can see the other babies now poking out all over the place, and it does actually appear to be quite a strenuous task for them to haul themselves out of the egg. Once they get out of the egg, they lie there exhausted for quite a while. And the babies are also yawning, not surprisingly, since they've taken their first breaths when they pipped. And now Mum is getting agitated by the camera again. I did leave her in for an additional 24 hours with all these babies to see how she would respond, how she would behave, and I'm glad that I did, because I did get some excellent footage and some excellent photographs out of that footage. But it doesn't appear that she is giving the babies any special attention. She's crawling all over the pile of eggs and appears to be actually quite oblivious to the fact that her babies are hatching. You can see she's actually squashing that baby at the back as it tries to squeeze out from the corner. And I did feed the other snakes in the room this evening, and you can see that this female actually probably would have eaten. I didn't feed her since she had babies in the tub with her, but she did appear to be quite excited by the scent of prey in the room. And now you can see the baby snakes are actually getting quite active in the tub, crawling all over Mum. but the pile of eggs is totally squashed now, and there are still 3 babies in there. 3 eggs still have babies inside them, and she is climbing all over the eggs and squashing them down. So eventually I decided that enough was enough, and I removed those eggs. The babies were ready to come out, so they are now all in a shedding tub, and all 6 babies are out and they're all healthy. Now she's knocked the camera over again. So I did try to right the camera so that we could get some additional footage. But you can see that she's knocking these eggs all over the place now, and you can see the baby's still inside there, struggling to get out. Even though I did go in and cut the eggs to make it easy for them to get out, she's actually knocking them around and squashing them back down again and making life really difficult for the hatchlings that are still stuck inside the egg. And the egg goop is obviously attracting small fruit flies. They're getting in the tub via the gap, the air gap at the top of the tub, but little fruit flies are getting in there. Egg goop has a very distinctive smell both in the incubator and in the snake room when eggs are hatching, so not surprising that it does attract those little fruit flies. You can see what a mess she's made of that pile of eggs now. 3 of the babies are out, so 3 of the eggs are empty, but there is still actually 3 babies inside that pile of eggs there, completely squashed flat. You can see one of the babies still trying to get out there. But I did get some awesome stills, and this image here just sums up the whole maternal incubation experience. That's an awesome picture. And another one, Mum watches on as her babies are hatching. So I did have a friend in the Philippines who maternally incubates, and this baby is pipping after just 52 days. And the mother is still tightly coiled around the eggs, being a good mother, which is exactly what I would have expected to see from mine, but obviously it didn't work out that way. 52 days is incredibly fast for incubation. Temperatures of around 31 apparently, but all the babies are out. They all survived. One of them is a little bit small but looks okay, and we'll review this clutch in another video later on, but for now all the babies are out, mum's in a refreshed tub, and maternal incubation, I think we can call that a success.
Alright guys, so there we go. Whew. What a relief that was. 72 days. I never expected it was going to take that long, but the good news is that 72 days doesn't appear to have affected any of the babies. They have all hatched. They're all now in a shedding tub here, and we'll do an update on those shortly so that you can get a look at the babies. Would I do maternal incubation again? Ask me that next season. Probably not a good time to ask me right now. It was very stressful because you're entering the unknown. In my incubator, it's like clockwork, and I know exactly when the eggs are going to hatch. This was a completely new experience for me. What did we learn? Well, we've busted many myths along the way here. One of the eggs turned bad, and it did not turn any of the good eggs bad. They all hatched out apart from the one bad egg, which was left in the clutch. We saw the female shedding on eggs. We saw the female eating, not once but twice, while she was sitting on eggs. And I think you're going to find that another myth that we've busted here is that temperature of incubation affects the sex ratio of the babies. These eggs were all incubated at incredibly low temperatures, actually 29 centigrade, and it took them forever to actually hatch out. But the low temperatures should have favoured females, and the first two babies out of the eggs that I sexed were both males. The third one was a female, so I think we busted that myth as well. What would I do differently if I was to do this again? Well, temperature. Temperature is the obvious one. 72 days is way too long. My eggs hatch in 60 days in the incubator at 31.5 centigrade, and I think 29 centigrade was too low. Having said that, the eggs did hatch. They just took a long time. And I remember other people telling me that incubate their eggs at room temperature. The eggs do take up to 70 days to hatch, and mine took 72, so perhaps that's not so out of whack, but certainly temperatures could have been a little higher. Humidity turned out not to be an issue. I needed no extra humidity in the tub. The eggs were fine throughout the incubation period, but I was surprised at how quickly they dimpled in just over the last 2 to 3 days. It happened very, very quickly. One minute the eggs looked perfect, and the next they were almost pancake flat, and that did worry me a little bit, but as you can see, that also turned out fine. The babies were not dehydrated. The one baby at the bottom of the pile that was in that small egg that did get squashed flat is a little bit small, not dangerously small. I think it will be okay with a couple of meals. I did tie off the umbilicus, and it did drop off within a day, and that baby is fine. You'll see that in the review of the babies when we take a look a little bit later on. So there you go, guys. Thank goodness they all hatched out. What a relief. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.